Ghana's independence, a nation's path to freedom. Ghana's independence is more than a chapter in African history. It is a story of resilience, unity, and hope that redefined an entire continent. Before we begin, kindly subscribe and hit on the notification bell for more stories like this. Thank you for subscribing. On March 6, 1957, Ghana became the first sub-Saharan African country to liberate itself from colonial rule, igniting a wave of independence movements across Africa. This documentary takes you on an insightful journey through Ghana's pre-colonial era, the struggles under British rule, the rise of nationalist leaders, and the ultimate triumph of self-governance. Through vivid imagery and compelling storytelling, we will explore how Ghana's fight for freedom paved the way for lasting change, both in Africa and across the globe. Long before colonial rule, Ghana, then known as the Gold Coast, was a land of rich culture, thriving kingdoms, and unparalleled natural wealth. Dominated by the Ashanti Kingdom and other smaller states, the region was famed for its abundance of gold, which would later earn it its colonial name. The people lived in strong kinship-based societies, with expansive trade networks that spanned West Africa. They were skilled artisans, traders, and farmers, creating a flourishing and self-sustainable economy. It was this wealth that would attract European traders in the 15th century, but it wasn't until the late 19th century that Ghana fell under the yoke of British colonialism, and its identity and culture were forced to adapt to foreign rule. The British solidified their control over the Gold Coast in the late 19th century, making it a crown colony. Under colonial rule, the traditional governance systems were displaced by British laws and institutions. While some infrastructural development occurred, such as railways and schools, it came at a cost. Resources like cocoa and gold were heavily exploited to benefit the British economy, while the indigenous population faced systemic inequality and oppression. Ghanaian society became heavily divided. On one side stood the British elite, and on the other, the marginalized local population. This dynamic sowed the seeds of resentment and laid the groundwork for the coming nationalist movements. The early 20th century saw the rise of a well-educated Ghanaian elite who began questioning colonial oppression. They were inspired by concepts of equality and freedom, fueled by the global winds of change after World War I. Education, a tool introduced by the British to serve colonial governance, ironically became a driver for anti-colonial sentiment. This period saw growing discussions about self-governance and justice. After World War II, nationalist efforts intensified. The return of Ghanaian soldiers who had fought for the British during the war played a significant role. These veterans, having risked their lives for the empire, were met with neglect and mistreatment back home. Their disillusionment resonated deeply with the broader population, setting the stage for confrontation. Tensions boiled over in February 1948 when colonial police killed unarmed ex-servicemen peacefully protesting their exclusion from post-war benefits. Public outrage led to widespread riots, looting and strikes in Accra and beyond. While the colonial government attempted to suppress the unrest, the incident became a galvanizing moment for independence movements. It united various factions who realized that the colonial oppressors' grip could be loosened if they stood together. Amid this growing unrest, a towering figure emerged, Kwame Nkrumah. Born in 1909, Nkrumah was an educated visionary steeped in the principles of Pan-Africanism. He had studied abroad in the United States and Britain, where he interacted with global thinkers and refined his ideas about anti-colonial resistance. Upon his return to Ghana, he aligned with the United Gold Coast Convention, UGCC, an organization committed to self-rule. However, Nkrumah soon realized that the UGCC's moderate stance was not enough to meet the urgent demands of the people. In 1949, he broke away to form the Convention People's Party, CPP, a platform that championed immediate independence. With the CPP, Nkrumah spearheaded a mass mobilization campaign that focused on the slogan, "Self-government now." The CPP quickly gained popularity among the people, creating a movement that transcended class and ethnic divisions. Strikes, boycotts, and rallies swept across the Gold Coast, drawing massive support despite repression from colonial authorities. Nkrumah's activism came at a personal cost. He was imprisoned in 1950 for supposedly inciting unrest, but this only strengthened his image as a martyr for independence. Even from prison, his charisma and clear vision for Ghana's future inspired hope across the nation. The colonial government eventually introduced constitutional reforms, seeing the growing unrest as a signal for negotiation. In 1951, Ghana held its first legislative elections, allowing indigenous participation. Despite being imprisoned at the time, Nkrumah's CPP won an overwhelming majority, signaling the people's trust in his leadership. Shortly after the election, Nkrumah was released and appointed leader of government business, granting him significant control over the colony's governance. Over the next 6 years, Nkrumah worked tirelessly to navigate the complexities of decolonization. Balancing negotiations with the British government, pressure from opposition groups, and the hopes of the people, he eventually secured an agreement for independence. On March 6, 1957, Ghana officially became a sovereign nation, marking a monumental moment in African history. The country's independence was celebrated with speeches, dances, and music that underscored the pride and unity of the Ghanaian people. During the official ceremony, Kwame Nkrumah delivered an electrifying speech that still resonates with power. At long last, the battle has ended, and thus Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever. The day symbolized a collective victory, not only for Ghana, but for all colonized nations yearning for self-determination. Newly freed Ghana adopted symbols of independence, including its own flag, a tricolor of red, gold, and green, with a black star representing African liberation, and a national anthem that celebrated its newfound unity. Ghana's independence sent shockwaves of hope across the African continent. It demonstrated that liberation was possible, inspiring other nations in sub-Saharan Africa to fight for their freedom. Within the next decade, over 30 African nations would gain independence, drawing strength from the precedent Ghana had set. Beyond Ghana, Nkrumah envisioned a unified Africa, working tirelessly to promote Pan-African ideals. He sought to bridge artificial divisions created during colonial times, advocating for the creation of an African Union to pool resources and secure collective prosperity. Although his ambitions for continental unity faced challenges, Nkrumah's vision firmly positioned Ghana as a leader in Africa's liberation story. With independence came the challenge of building a nation. Nkrumah prioritized industrialization, investing in large-scale infrastructure projects like the Akosombo Dam to generate energy and transform Ghana's economy. Education became another focal point, with efforts to build schools and expand access to learning. Culturally, Nkrumah emphasized Ghana's identity, encouraging the revival of traditions and support for the arts. Independence was not only political, but also a cultural rebirth. While Ghana's independence was a trailblazing moment, the early years of self-governance weren't without difficulties. The nation faced economic struggles, political infighting, and criticism of some of Nkrumah's policies. By overextending on ambitious development projects, Ghana plunged into debt, which created instability. In 1966, Nkrumah was overthrown in a coup, marking an end to his leadership, but not to his legacy. Ghana's independence left an indelible mark on global history. It underscored the power of resilience and unity in overcoming oppression. Its role in Africa's decolonization inspired freedom movements in colonies around the world, from Asia to the Caribbean. And while Ghana continues to evolve, its independence remains a source of pride and inspiration, a reminder of what can be achieved through courage and collective action. Ghana's journey to independence illustrates universal truths about the human spirit: the power of hope, the necessity of solidarity, and the importance of visionary leadership. It also serves as a reminder that the fight for freedom doesn't end with independence. It requires enduring commitment to justice, progress, and unity. In the classroom and beyond, Ghana's story offers invaluable lessons. It highlights the significance of learning from history, understanding the roots of struggle, and recognizing that even in the face of oppression, change is possible when people dare to dream and act together. As we reflect on Ghana's independence, we honor the sacrifices and convictions of those who fought for liberty. Ghana's journey is not just a celebration of its past, but also a call to action for future generations to value and uphold the ideals of freedom and self-determination. March 6, 1957 was not just the beginning of Ghana's future, it was the spark of a continent-wide awakening. And today, it continues to inspire the global fight for equality, dignity, and justice. Let the lessons of Ghana's independence echo in every classroom, every discussion, and every heart. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave your comments.